Hello, I'm Dr. Robert D. McDonald of the Telos Healing Center. I'm the creator of the Destination Method. My wife, Dr. Luzette McDonald, and I, we teach the Destination Method worldwide. We have offices in California and in Europe, and you can contact us if you'd like. I want to tell you a little bit about a certain experience that we had using the Destination Method to help people, help a particular person, a woman named Janice Rebstock in Louisiana. I had been teaching in Louisiana for some years and knew some wonderful people there. And when Dr. Luzette and I came back to Louisiana to teach a course, we were told that one of our students had had a massive stroke and was in the hospital, in the town there, in the major hospital. She was in the ICU, intensive care unit, and she'd been there for 30 days without waking up. She was in a coma. It was really quite frightening. And so the students in my class said, listen, can you do anything for her? And I said, well, I know Janice, I'll do everything I can. So during lunch hour from the class, I left the class. My wife, Luzette, and I, we took a drive over to the hospital, walked into the ICU. She was in bed, completely unconscious, in the coma. We had another friend who was standing there with us, and the nurses left the room, and I was able to talk directly to Janice. I knew that she was unconscious, of course. Everybody knew that. But we were lucky. We had a few minutes to communicate with her. She was in the bed, and I walked over to her and immediately held her hand. I sat on the bed, held her hand, and I began to talk to her in a particular tone of voice, in a particular cadence of voice, to remind whatever part of her consciousness could be reminded that she was safe. I used a very gentle and loving tone and began to talk to what you could call her unconscious mind. And I explained to her that, in fact, she had had a stroke and that she was in the ICU and was in a coma. And I explained to her that I understood that perfectly well. And I also reminded her of something she understood, that she had had many experiences of having certain wounds on her body that healed naturally and quickly. In other words, I reminded her of how common it was for her to have an experience of a cut. Because, everybody's had some experience of the cut on the body. I know I've cut myself shaving many times. I know that I've been washing dishes and broken glass and it's cut my hand. And I reminded her that she had had in her life many experiences of being cut, and that the body knew exactly what to do to heal it. All she had to do was rest and know the truth, that the body always knows how to heal itself. And I repeated that to her quite a lot, that her body knew how to heal itself. I said, it knows how to heal itself, and you're fine. Just let it do that. And I began to link together her current experience, which was a serious stroke that had left her in this coma for so long, and that there needed to be a healing of that part of her brain. So I talked to her about that for quite a while, actually about 15 minutes maximum, and gently entered into that world with her. That's strange to say. I imagine it's difficult to understand it, but I just decided that I believed it, and I decided that she would believe it, and I spoke about it deeply. We prayed about it, my wife and I and the other person there. We prayed while we were there. We wanted to make sure that every part of her conscious mind and her unconscious mind, that which is aware and that which is unaware, was fully engaged in a healing process. Within a few minutes of my speaking to her, in fact, while I was still sitting on the bed, she opened her eyes. She looked at me, she looked at Dr. Luzette, she looked at our friend, and she said, I love you. We said, I love you right back. Each of us said that. She took a breath. I said to her, it's really okay. Don't worry. All is well, Janice. Go back to sleep. All is well, because your body knows exactly what to do to heal itself. She heard that, she nodded, she went back to sleep. We were all very, very happy and very relieved that she had awakened and she had connected with us. It had been 30 days since she had awakened. She had been in this coma the entire time in the ICU. So we then left that hospital, went home. We explained to people what we had done and that we were happy that there seeed to be this wonderful result. Well, it turns out that very soon thereafter, she was discharged from that very hospital. Within 1 month, she went back to the hospital to pick up some medication because she was given medication by the medical people. She went to the window where they hand out medication because someone behind that window, a medical person, called her name, said, "Janice Rebstock, come and get your medication." When she walked up there, that person who had called her name said, "You can't be Janice Rebstock because it says here what you had, you couldn't possibly be doing this, like walking over here." She says, "I assure you I am, Janice," and she took the medication and she left. Within a month, maybe 2 months after I had done the work, Lizette and I returned to Louisiana and Janice took us to lunch. She was that healthy. Within 6 months, she had another MRI that the report was, and this is clearly amazing, that there was no evidence of her ever having a stroke in the first place. No evidence. It was all gone. The whole thing was completely so healed that there was no evidence that she had had one. This is one of our success stories that we like to tell. It's an example of what's possible. Something seems so unbelievable. And, of course, if I were you hearing this for the first time, I wouldn't believe it. So I encourage you, instead of staying in a place where you're not sure, why not investigate? Find out what can be done and what can't. Why not open your mind? This is exactly what I do. When I run into something that seems unbelievable but really wonderful, I say, well, I'll investigate it. And if it's not true, I'll know that. And if it is true, I will. This is the kind of thing we want you to do. We want you to remember Janice Rebstock and what's possible. Thanks for listening.